Welcome back to Ranch Hacks.
No, this isn't Ranch Hacks, but we do have Malcolm MacLean with us today from Ranch Hacks, and we're going to talk to him about the things that he's doing on his operation, optimize profitability.
Well, last year in the dormant season, I actually wanted to do like a real intensive total graze in the winter just to see how hard I can push it. I am trying to leave a little bit more back just to catch more snow, and I know that that's not really a thing, I guess, but I just feel like, I feel a little bit better if I have the land. I'm like, I just give it a little bit more left back, but I don't want to leave back all the undesirables or anything like that. So I'm trying to balance that, but trying to give maybe not go as hard as I did last year. And it was a little tough on the cows, even those cows.
For example,
those horses, right? They'll lock on a cow and they'll stare at it and they'll get down and they'll put a whole bunch of intent, like, we're looking at you, and then the cow, I want something where the horse almost doesn't even know the cow's there, because you just got to get in the right position and you're going to be able to do whatever you need to do. You don't need, when you're getting in that close, you're just asking to have to move too fast.
All that and more on this episode 496 of the Working Cows podcast, brought to you by Kaizen Solutions and Sunshine Bible Academy.
Welcome to the podcast that gives producers a platform to discuss and share paradigm-challenging practices. Practices that have increased the effectiveness of their operation and the joy that their families have received from this lifestyle.
Howdy, everybody. It's Clay Connery, host of the Working Cows podcast. Very excited to be joined today by Malcolm MacLean. Malcolm is, maybe you don't even know, Malcolm is the guy behind Ranch Hacks. I'm not sure how often he talks about who he is on Ranch Hacks, but what I've seen of him is just him showing things that he's done, hacks that he has used on his ranch to help with the ranch's success and ease of running, and tools that he's made. And I always appreciate it because there are things that I don't think that way. My mind doesn't operate that way. And I just appreciate somebody who thinks differently. And, but we're going to talk to him today about not just about the ranch hacks. We're going to talk to him about his operation and what he's been doing on it to optimize profitability on the ranch. So very excited to share this conversation with you with Malcolm MacLean of Ranch Hacks. Malcolm, thanks for joining me today on the Working Cows podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've always appreciated the Facebook page and the Ranch Hacks, and I think I told you when I reached out that that's probably because my head doesn't work that way, my brain doesn't work that way, as far as just making something out of very little, and the pieces that I already have laying around and putting multiple things together and making them into something that's useful and helpful. But what I actually wanted to talk to you about today is your ranch, kind of what you guys have going on there. So maybe just start off with telling us a little bit about where the ranch is and then the enterprises that you guys are involved in.
Okay, so we're in the south west of Alberta, kind of right in the foothills in the Porcupine Hills, just before the mountains. We're on the east side of the Old Man River, so we're up by kind of closest town would be Pincher Creek. And I guess in saying our ranch operation, so I've basically spent my life working for grazing reserves and ranches and seasonal. Sometimes in the winter I'd go logging and whatever. But this is our first year basically where we started doing our own stuff. So we started leasing some land in the neighborhood here and bought some cows, and we're doing that. And then I'm looking after some other cows, sort of doing stuff like that, same realm, but on our own, I guess. Before I was working, like where I'm at here, I'm neighbored still with the Waldron Ranch, and I was there before I kind of started doing my own stuff. So
Sure. And so is it all managing livestock you own, or do you have some custom livestock as well?
I've got some custom livestock right now. So I've got another neighbor that planted a bunch of corn, and he's got, I think there's roughly 400 acres of corn there. And then I've got 430 cows that are other people's cows that I'm just grazing on that corn for the winter.
Sure. Did he plant that corn intending for it to be grazed?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's a pretty interesting guy, actually, Gary. He has this system that he takes the diesel from the or takes the exhaust from the tractor and puts it into a tank and mixes it with microbes and uses no fertilizers.
Hmm.
And that's kind of his main business. But he has quite a bit of land too, and he's always farmed. But he really wanted to see what he could do with this corn grazing for capturing more carbon. And so grazing was kind of what he wanted to do. And he planted the corn and just said, have at her if you can find some cows to put together and look after them. And that's kind of what we did. And we went from there.
Nice, and that is interesting. I'd love to hear more about that maybe, but the capturing the exhaust and putting it in the tank with the microbes. But so, is there irrigation nearby, or how does the corn grow there?
There is irrigation on that piece, but a lot of it's dry land. Like there's one pivot blew down, so that one's not working. And then he had another one, and then had some pump trouble. But pretty much there was barely any irrigation even on the pieces that were irrigated, and it grew really well this year. We had lots of heat units this year, though.
Hmm.
It was kind of a good year for corn. He grew corn there last year too, and it also did well. So it's rocky because it's right at the river. So it's some rocky soil. So you'll hit different spots. Some of it's really, really good, and some of it's, like it is where it's rocky. And we have a neighbor, same spot on the river pretty much. He's also growing corn, but grows it with fertilizer. And to me, they look like the same tonnage, everything.
Hmm.
I don't think there's any difference there. It's just you hit some rocky patches and it's pretty much straight rock.
Sure. Yeah, we've done an episode recently about grazing standing corn, but what have been some of the your experience? What's been your experience with it thus far?
I like it. I think it's pretty neat to be able to feed that many cows that fast. Like it just takes me a couple hours. I go break ice at the river, and then I'll set up a line. I move daily, so I move the cows every day. So I like it. I'd rather be out moving fence than sitting in a tractor feeding. So for me, it fits. But there's some challenges. Like today, we're at +9 here, which is like unreal. The frost coming out of the ground, and that's really hard with the corn. The cows just punch it in. There's no back grazing, so it's like that's one of the challenges. Another challenge is having the water that you need, which we do there is fine, but they've got some corn in town that another guy's grazing and he's having trouble with water, and so it's not. Something else that I did notice is the cows. I can't get them to eat the stalk. And these cows aren't, they're not made for eating standing corn. Like they're not genetically to be browsers or anything like that. Like these are just, they're not my cows. They're just regular run of the mill cows. So they won't, I haven't been able to get them to eat the stalk and stay in the condition I like. So they do go through, they eat all the cob, all the leaf. But when I look at it and go, how much is left in stock, if you did silage it, you are losing that portion of it. And I've just actually sent some off to the lab to find out. I split it to see what we're actually losing in stock versus cob and leaf. So we'll kind of have an idea. But then you also have the price of harvesting it and then putting the manure back on the field and all those things. So I mean, I think it's pretty good. But yeah, the mud makes it kind of tough when it gets too warm. And over on the east side here of town, there's a guy that's grazing some of Gary's corn, and it's a lot more open there, and they had the snow blow in, and they've got like 4-foot drifts in the corn. So, that makes it a little hard to graze too, but we don't have that problem where I'm at.
Yeah, for sure. As Wally Olson says, I've often heard him say, "I'd rather roll in cow manure than get one drop of hydraulic fluid on me." So that's
Yeah.
That's a good way to feed cows if you don't want to be out there trying to run a tractor all the time and stuff like that. So I do like that strategy, and it's cool to hear it's working in other places too. So you said this is kind of the first year for you guys in managing your own cows. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we've always had lots of horses, and I worked for, the Waldron, different community pastures and that. So we've always had our own horses, but we didn't have cows because we don't have the land base here for cows. But we were lucky enough that some of the neighbors here were kind of either getting out of it or had some land that they weren't using, and we were able to rent up quite a bit of land, and it's kind of nice. Bought some cows. It's pretty exciting for us because we never really thought about owning our own cows. I always was kind of under the mindset I was never going to be able to have a place big enough that I would enjoy riding and doing everything. Like I like big miles and big country, but you know what? We're not huge, but it's enjoyable because there's a whole bunch of new challenges on how to do this and make money and do it the right way, and we get to do it how we want to do it. So that's pretty cool for us. I was able to start right from scratch. So I wanted cows that could do well without real high quality feed or feeding in the winter and all that kind of stuff. So I bought Corriente Longhorn cows, and they fit for what we're doing with this total grazing. So we were able to buy the right cows, and they were good price. Those cows. The only thing is your cattle handling stockmanship's got to be in pretty good working condition to do this. Because when you're buying cows like we're buying junk from everywhere that was, I wouldn't say junk, but stuff that was pretty much feral. Older cows that they don't put them through chutes. They don't do anything with them, right? So like the one load I got they got trucked up from up north, got to one of the auction yards there, and I just went to load them there, and they took a couple hours because they were throwing everybody over the fence. And but really, the cows are not bad if you can handle them. So that's so being able to start with cows that can total graze and do all that was pretty awesome. I guess it's 2 years really, because we've already had one set of calves out of them. So
Sure.
We breed them back to Charolais. We did some Angus and some Charolais, but the Charolais to me is better because of color wise. With an Angus cow, they're throwing some like black and whites and stuff, and to sell them is really hard. But with the Charolais, you get pretty much big yellow tan kind of Charolais looking calves, and it's really been really good. We've been able to, our weaning averages like 650 kind of thing on our steers. So really they build a really nice terminal animal to sell.
Weaning at what age?
Have to figure it out because our calving window is all messed up, but I'm going to say probably around 5-6 months.
Let's take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor today, Kaizen Solutions. What if 2026 looks exactly like 2025? Same stress, same pressure, same feeling that you're working harder but not getting ahead. Not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because you're running on the same internal programming. You want a better business and ultimately a better life. At Kaizen, we believe your first and best investment should always be in you, the owner, the manager, the leader. Your results don't come from effort, they come from identity. That's why we created the 100X Breakthrough Program. We don't hype you up, we don't throw motivation at you, we help you reprogram the way you think, feel, and show up so your actions and results finally change and align with what you truly want, a better business and a better life. If you're driven, if you know you're capable of more, and you're tired of repeating the same year on a faster treadmill, we focus on the foundation. It's time for a breakthrough. Visit kznsolutions.ca and schedule your free instant impact coaching session. Because your next level doesn't start with doing more, it starts with becoming more. Okay, so tell me about buying in this market. Was the strategy, part of the strategy with the Longhorn Corrientes is that in this market, they're not going to be as sky high as everything else? Is that part of it too?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Because you can buy, like, we were buying them at, like on our herd, I guess we're averaging $2,000 a cow, bred cow. So, that's pretty good, compared to buying
it's 2
anything.
for one,
That was
or
really
even
the
less, like 2.5 for one of what a black cow is running probably.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of them came bred to Longhorn Corriente, and we got those, calved those out, and the market for rope cattle is really good right now. I don't want really anything to do with being in the rope cattle market or anything. That's not my thing. But we had the calves, so we were able to do well on them, and then everything goes back to beef.
Mm-hmm. And then are you guys just selling after weaning, or how are you guys marketing those?
So I wean them, like I'll do a 3-stage weaning or fence line weaning, whatever. Like I'm not just weaning them cold, but I am taking them to the market right now. I would like to eventually sell our own beef and stuff. I'm not set up for it quite yet. And the other thing is the market is so good right now that it's not really worth it at this
Right.
point. But I don't get to control the market, so eventually I want to, so I can control my pricing a little bit,
Yeah.
But on these good years, like it's pretty hard to put in all that work, and once we get ahead, we can do it. But right now, it's pretty busy with everything, so that's the goal, is eventually sell our own beef, and then they could be whatever color I want, because I do find the Angus calves are better calves coming out of those cows. So yeah, eventually that would be the idea.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. And I've asked that question to people who are direct marketing now, but they've been doing it a long time. And they said, you just keep on going at the rate you've been going and try to grow the direct market business. But yeah, I might not start a direct market business right now. I might wait until there's a little bit more premium for the direct market over what the market is already paying, and then start it, and then grow it. And then on the next top of the cattle cycle, you can continue to go up and grow and all those things with the direct market business, I guess. Is that kind of how you're thinking about it?
Yeah, and when you just get ahead enough that we got some capital to put into that and
Yeah.
do it right, and the prices are good right now, so we're just going to kind of hold on that. I'm going to be building some composite cattle. I want those longhorns are really good. Like they're non-selective grazers, which really helps me as far as grazing, but it also helps me with land I'm renting, because I'm able to tell those guys, look, I'm going to bring non-selective grazing cattle onto your property, and we're going to do an awesome job with it, and I can do the job I want to do with those cows. But cold winters, it's a little bit tough. They're short-haired and they don't have as much flesh on them. So I would like to I've got some that I bred this year to an Angus bull, but he's probably double polled, so I'm probably not going to get horn on him. And the rest of the herd has horn, so I want to keep horn. I'm thinking of going the right Hereford bull, so that I can get the horn, but also get the curly, little bit more hair to kind of get him haired up a bit for the winters, and hopefully be able to put some fat on him a little bit more, just to make, as long as I don't lose my calving ease, and as long as I don't lose the non-selective grazing. And people have been doing it. I'm not the first guy to do it, and it sounds like it's doable. The non-selective grazing, or sorry, the calving, like I didn't realize this till we got into these cows, but like a Corriente Longhorn is like a mare. It'll only build the calf as big as they'll calve out. So it's pretty awesome. Like you can put them on a big high-powered bull, as long as the bull's not too big in physical size for the cow. And you can put in, like, when we put in a real high-powered Charolais bull, those calves look great. Like they look like big Charolais calves. They don't look like Longhorn calves. So if I don't lose any of those things, then yeah, I'd really want to try to build our own cows. That's kind of the next step, I guess.
So are you dealing with some brush in the pastures that these longhorns will go after and kind of browse on?
Yeah, there's some brush and I was pretty impressed. It was almost like goats. Like at the right time of year, they'll clean it right up. And if you hold them a bit, they they still pick their better grass, first. But if you can hold them, they'll do well on those other things. As some other cattle, I've got some friends that are total grazing and stuff with Simmental cows and stuff, and they just kind of fall apart. You can't push them hard enough to, if you clean all that up, you're gonna be taking out all your cows.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then the plan from the beginning was to make these girls the base of a composite going forward.
Yes.
Yep. And so you've talked about maybe the first part of that composite would be a Hereford bull that would throw horns. Is part of that heat tolerance, or what are the motivations for keeping the horns?
Well, the horns in the herd, these cattle, especially right now, because I bought cattle from all over. and just I can't even find enough cattle. So that was kind of the problem. So I'm buying, a dozen here, 10 here, whatever. And they're also were handled bad, most of these cattle. So when you bring them into a herd, they want to fight, especially when you get tight or any bit of stress on them, then they start horning each other. And if one doesn't have horns, then it's not going to be able to compete, right? So I don't really want to have non-horned cattle in that group. I like the horn too. Like we've got lots of wolves, bears, cats, everything here, and I'm not out there pulling calves or anything. Like they're calving on their own. Um, I want them to be able to keep predators away. So I like the horn. It doesn't bother me any that they have horns. So
Yeah. So then, okay. So yeah, I was just having a conversation with one of the elders at my church the other day, and he said his kids want to put this brown Swiss bull they've got on a longhorn cow, and make the offspring into a milk cow. And I said, well, we know one thing, she'll have a great udder. And then he said, yeah, and the next thing is you won't be able to touch her. So has that been kind of your experience, that they're a little bit more standoffish as far as those longhorns are concerned, not just the ones that are coming from feral backgrounds, as you said?
yeah, because the breeding on these, right? Most stuff here is bred for rope stock.
Mm.
So they're breeding the stuff that's the most, want to run. And for me, they're good because I really like a sensitive animal. So they're good in the right hands. If you're not really far into good stockmanship and that's not your thing, then you would have hell with them because they're a blast to work. And they're like, I'm actually going to be kind of sad when I get them all, like they pretty much are all working good now. And it's really fun to work them. It's really challenging, to get them to where you can handle them and they're nice. And I mean, now you could go walk through that herd, no problem. But before, like, there's lots of them that would run you. And one when I unloaded it, swam across the river onto an island and calved out there before it, and she finally we got her back and stuff, and she's good now. But I mean, like they were like you got to be, yeah, you really got to use the Bud Williams stockmanship stuff with him. If you're going to try to like muscle and push him around, you're going to need a lot of people, and you're going to have, you're going to be really hard on your cattle, aren't going to do well. So, but with using the right stockmanship, they respond really well. They respond a lot better than a lot of your Angus and British breed cattle.
What's been the process? Kind of, yeah, walk me through that process of getting them rebooting the stockmanship, or I don't know how you would talk about that from their perspective, but getting them to be something that you can handle. What has been your process there?
So first thing is get them in. So we buy them and we don't have much control on that. They come in, either I go pick them up, and usually a lot of the places where I go to pick them up from, they can't even get them in the corral to load them. So get them loaded. I hate to shove them in a trailer before teaching them to take pressure. And we actually did lose one cow, and it was a really nice cow, and another cow killed her in the trailer. So that's not the best. That's just what you have to do. We have to get them here. We have to buy them then, but once I get them home, one thing I did find is I don't put them in the corral right away because it's too much pressure for them. So I put them out in the open, and then I start working them out in the open and getting them to take pressure. I did try there was a group that was really bad, and I put them in the corral. And I thought, at least there, if I need to get out of the way, I can, I'm by a fence and I could try to slowly work them in there, but it's too much pressure. I tried for probably a week or so, and they seemed to just get worse. So I just opened the gates and let them go. And then I just started working them, and they actually responded really well, and started driving them and started moving them. And shortly after, the amount of time it took outside of the pens versus inside of the pens was just night and day, because they got room. They're not as worried about, I thought, man, these are real killers. These cows, like, they're not. I might have to take these, send them or shoot them or something. But they turned out to be really good once I got them in the open. And like before I bring them to the corrals, I'll take them into whatever pasture I'm in, and I'll kind of hold them up into a corner, and I'll just kind of pressure into the cows, and I can watch them start moving and getting squirrely and thinking about getting out of there, and I'll just back up, and I'll just keep on that and have them go by me, and just kind of keep working them like that as I can get closer and closer to them, and just get them to where they're comfortable with pressure. And then and I take them into the yards and start, and then like, cause we preg check, my wife's a vet. So we preg check everything. We, vaccinate everything. Everything's got to go through the chute, and some of them have got big long horns, but as long as you just take it real slow and real easy and keep the pressure really low and let them find their way through, they'll make it through the chute. You got to be the gather. When you gather them and bring them to the corrals, you got to be real gentle with them, because if you rev them up when they get in the corrals, they'll hurt each other.
Yeah. Always on foot?
They just start digging on each other.
Always on foot?
No, but I've been doing a lot
on foot. Responding to pressure, I guess, is kind of what I'm asking.
You probably should do it on a horse, because they could hurt you. But I do it all on foot because I just want to. It's just more of a challenge for me. So, like, since here, and nothing's big enough. Like, I don't need to be on my horse to go do any of this stuff here. Like, it's a quarter section at the biggest. Well, I could walk around a quarter section like no problem, right? So, so I've done pretty much 90% of it on foot. Sometimes I've brought a horse, even just led a horse with me, so that I was like, well, if I need to get on, I can. But I just wanted to really challenge myself and see, can I do this all on foot with these cows? And I did, and it worked. But you could get yourself in a bad position too if you're not careful.
Let's take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor today, Sunshine Bible Academy. I am an alumni of Sunshine Bible Academy. I went there just for my senior year. Voluntarily chose to go to a Christian boarding high school, and Sunshine is a great environment, a great opportunity for people who might have to drive a long ways to get to the nearest high school, people who are looking for a high degree of academic rigor, as well as lots of opportunities from a extracurricular perspective, basketball, football, track, choir, band, FFA. They've had nationally competitive teams in the FFA judging events, an ag program. At different times, they've had mechanics, like auto mechanics and welding and all kinds of different opportunities. Woodshop, just things that you probably wouldn't get in even smaller rural schools. They have been able to provide over the years, as well as just a high degree of academic rigor. So if you're looking for a place to send a young person in your life for high school, consider Sunshine Bible Academy, and you can find out more information at sunshinebible.org. Okay, so I guess I want to circle back to the genetics piece of that. And do you have other thoughts or other breeds that you would go add into the composite after the Herefords are on the ground and kind of the next generation? You got thoughts there?
I don't actually right now. I don't really know what I would want to add in, or what, like they're already have A2 milk, and there's a bunch of good things. I don't know if they lose that when with that composite, but I don't have anything that I can think of that I would like to put in. I just want to see more hair and more flesh on them, but not over amount of flesh or over amount of hair. Like, I know some guys are breeding them back to like Highland cattle, but the Highland can't take the heat. So, you just like, it's what you kind of want, something in the middle. You don't want them to, because we get really hot here too. So
let's talk about grazing strategy then on this, on your own enterprise, and kind of the way that you guys have been approaching that in the growing season. Let's start there.
Oh, in the growing season. So that's like a total graze, daily moves, just like Jim. I think you've had him on your podcast here. So he came and did a school last year here, and we did another one. He did another one this year. Like, we actually had a couple ranchers. We all got together and brought him up, and just doing that total grazing. Like, it was scary for me at first, because I'm from sort of a background of big country. There's not really control of your fencing or anything, and I've seen what happens when you stay too long, and you get it too short, and you've been there too many days. So it was a little bit like, what? You can do that? And I wanted to make sure. So we really tested it. Like, that's something to do with ranch hacks too, is we want to show some of this stuff. So we want to test all this so other people can see it, so they don't have to, so yeah, we would move. I would build a fence have them eat that, move the next day, but I would build 2 fences in there and they would skip. That way, by having those lanes like that, you're getting them to see what they do in the same day rainfall kind of, not day, but same week. Whereas if I total grazed one pasture and then didn't touch that one, well, the rainfall's not the same. There's so many factors. So that seemed to be tighter if we could just every other day skip a piece, mark it all out, and then go back in the fall and see what happened. And it was good. Like, I don't know how many, like, we have to see how long can you do that, but it's been working really good. So yeah, just daily moving the cattle. I really want to get these collars. I think that's going to be a big game changer in the whole industry. And I think that not only you don't have to put up so much fence, but also you can move multiple times a day. So I think that's kind of one of our next things we want to try to do this year, hopefully, is get some collars on these cattle too.
Yeah, for sure. So on the total grazing deal, or actually no, on the community pastures deal, was there any kind of a rotation there?
Different ones. Like, I've worked for quite a few different places, and some of them, no, they go in for the whole season into one allotment. That's where that guy's cows are, and that's where they stay. And in other ones, we move, but there's enough. If you have enough acres, you can't destroy it all, but you're still going to have your bottomlands and stuff get beat up pretty bad, and some areas don't get grazed enough, and there's quite a bit of problems to that. Placing cattle is a good way to kind of to get around that, but it just depends who's the management. They might not be totally into that. So, it would be nice to see those places, like, I guess I've been advocating for this for a long time, is like mobbing up more cattle. And, like the one place I was at, and I was managing that place, and it was a big place, just a big grazing reserve. And we had all these groups of cows, and everybody kind of had their own allotment, but they're like 4 or 5 sections a piece. So quite a bit of land. And then at the end of the year, there's no bulls in this pasture. Everything has to come bred before you turn out. And then in the fall, you open all the gates, mix everybody, and then take them to the corrals and sort them. So I said, well, we got the water to do it. Let's just mob up these cattle and let's just make a big rotation around. But that, without bulls, it seems like pretty easy, but I guess that's not, they want to do it or whatever. So anyway, but that's what I would say is, like, these places would benefit a lot if you can get the water infrastructure in, is to just mob up more cattle and try to roll through and give lots of rest, and try to be there as short as you can with as high intensity as you can.
Yeah. And the reason I ask is, I've talked to some people that were on real big places, and they talk about the Gus Hormet rest rotation system on some of those bigger places where they use one pasture. And I mean, that might be 20,000 acres, this one pasture when they turn in, and then another pasture later in the season into like November, like from, I don't know, September to November or something like that. And then they leave another pasture that's totally rested for the whole season from, May to November. And then they start in that one they rested the last year. And the connection to total grazing to me is that's kind of sounds a lot like what total grazing is, where you're using a third of the ranch in the growing season, a third in the dormant season, and then a third is rested. And then you start on the rested portion in the growing season the next year, if I understand it correctly. So is that, does that match up with what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, the problem with that, like, I understand about going to your last pasture, giving the most rest, come back when it's fully recovered. But the problem with when you get in those bigger acres like that is you're still staying there too many days in a growing, like, they'll bite that same piece of grass maybe 100 times, right? So you keep knocking those plants back. So I would more be like, want to be in there for, instead of 4 months, you'll be in there for 2 weeks.
Right.
Or, whatever, you can just cut that down so that they're getting less and less of that. Because if you're in there all season anyway, and then you go back, I think you've damaged the plants too much at that point.
Yep. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. And when I've had people that are running pretty good sized operations before ask me where to start, I do tell them to start there because you're at least introducing some recovery and not every place is getting grazed at the same time every year. Now, yeah, ultimately I think that in the West your rotation should be 2 weeks at the longest, probably more like 2 to 4 days, would be ideal. In the West, you can go farther east, it's going to be shorter probably than that, but those are kind of the things that I think I try to shoot for anyways during the growing season. But yeah, the question is more about, is it kind of scratching the same itch that total grazing is, where you've got a third of it that's rested for the whole year? Is that part of your guys' strategy?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. We're resting and I actually had a bit of trouble figuring this out. Like the second school was better because I didn't totally understand, like, what is a year? You know what I mean? Like, rest this one for a year. Well, what is it? And this year we really got into it, and it's not an increment of time. It's to full recovery.
Mhm.
And kind of what he was saying is, once the grass comes, like the grass is growing, when it comes back down like this, you're in total recovery.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can look too and see, what where you think it was and what's the recovery. But yeah, so we're trying to have everything go to full recovery. And then you have years where, say, you total grazed it and then it was hot and dry and you're going to take way longer. You're still going to have to wait for total recovery. But what you're saying totally makes sense, Clay. Like, the more you can set aside a piece and just say, we're not touching that piece this year, and rest it, it's awesome. That's a huge improvement. And especially when it's big acres and you can't control it.
Right. And I think in the West, more than in the East, because I think over rest in the East, you're going to have brush encroachment, from what I understand, and so there's other challenges there, and so you gotta do both. You gotta just know where you're at, know your context, and manage accordingly, right? For sure. So
Yeah.
and then on into the dormant season, what's that look like for you?
Well, last year in the dormant season, I actually wanted to do like a real intensive total graze in the winter just to see how hard I can push it. And I did those strips. Now this year in the dormant season, I'm not as worried. So I just give them enough ground that not too big a piece that I can get a fairly even graze on it. I am trying to leave a little bit more back just to catch more snow, and I know that that's not really a thing, I guess, but I just feel like, I feel a little bit better if I have the land. I'm like, I just give it a little bit more left back, but I don't want to leave back all the undesirables or anything like that. Like, so I'm trying to balance that, but trying to give maybe not go as hard as I did last year. And it was a little tough on the cows. Even those cows, I did notice that I had some times where I was like, man, I really need to give them a little bit more. This is, I'm pushing it too hard. So just trying to be a little bit more in the middle of the road on that this winter.
How did the land respond to the intense total graze from last winter?
It was better. The strips that we grazed were better than the strips that we had left. Totally. And this place had been rested for like 3 years. So we had full recovery. It was hard grass. It looked good. So I really want to see, because a lot of guys here say, like, oh, that'll work here, but not on native grass. Don't ever do that. You'll kill it all. And I said, well, from what I can find, it shouldn't kill it. We're going to try it. We're not trying to kill it. Like, there was enough. I had a good enough feeling, and we didn't do it in a mass way, that I wanted to see if it would respond with the native grass. And
yeah, I'm guessing when the bison moved off, it looked a little bit more like total grazing than it did other ideal situations.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you got to use enough land that is profitable too. Like, that's,
Yep.
that whole school and everything, it made sense. It's not just about the grass. It's about the fat cows and fat wallets and all the, all the stuff that goes into that. We don't have to be as concerned about that because we just pay by the day per cow and we have enough grass. But we want to do the best we can, and then we can scale too, right? You kind of know how much grass do we really have here when we run it this way on a good year. And like a bad year could be totally different.
Yeah, very good. What does the future look like? What are some of the things that you're hoping to? You said the collars were something that you're hoping to get your hands on. Anything else? Any other things that have caught your attention?
Just develop more water. Try to keep developing water. There's lots of grants and stuff here in Canada, so just try to stay up on the grants and develop water, and mostly the collars. Like that seems to be what is going to be a real game changer. Like even these cows on this corn, it would be pretty nice to have collars on these cows.
Mm.
You know, it would just make a huge difference of not just setting up fence, but you could just balance their ration even tighter. Like they could be getting cobs 2-3 times a day.
It is pretty interesting. I've talked to a few people kind of in passing, mentioned it, and just some of the ways that they've been able to implement it. Yeah. And it seems to be working. One guy who's grazing some standing cover crops, which would be a lot like corn, and it's working real well there. So he said, actually, he did say horned cattle would make it perfect. So
Really?
he said that horned cattle just keeps those collars on a little bit better. So that was one advantage he mentioned. So
Good. We're breeding for it.
yeah, very good. Very good. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Ranch Axe, and I want to start off by talking, if I can, about Ranch Axe by asking you to give us I think it's your signature, welcome back to Ranch Axe.
Welcome back to Ranch Axe.
Yes, I love that. Every time it just pops up and I hear it and I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm engaged for this video because it's always good. So I don't know this. I get this question from the other side quite a bit, and I'm going to try and ask it differently. So it's maybe a little easier. Is there a certain ranch hack that stands out in your mind as one that brought the most quality of life improvement to you?
Quality of life improvement. That's a good question.
Made your days better, easier?
You know what? I guess would be what I'm getting into now would be the stockmanship stuff would probably be one of the biggest. Like those, to me, improving on stockmanship is the biggest hack of all for ranch stuff and the grazing. Those two things. But like as far as the simple tools and stuff, I use everything I've put on there. I use all the time. Like I have the same like all those things. I use them all the time, and I don't know. It seemed like it'd be a pain in the butt if I didn't have them. So yeah, everything. Trying to think if there's anything I don't use, but pretty much everything I've put on there, I use the heck out of it.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like I said, they're always intriguing to me, and I don't know probably what the first one I saw was, but one of the first ones I saw was the staple, the hammer that you put the staple holder in the back of, and you can use that to set the staple and then start going. That was a good one.
That one I don't use as much anymore because I got the DeWalt staple gun now. So
nice.
But and if I'm fencing, I guess I have my hammer pliers. So
right.
So, but yeah, no, I did use that one quite a bit when I was still hammering everything by hand.
Yeah, building fence is one thing, but if you're just out repairing fence and you don't want to lug the DeWalt tool, to just repair fence, that I suppose would be another thing, right?
Yeah, I don't ever take the fence stapler if I'm just going to mend fence. I have a fence contract company too, so I build a lot of fence.
Right.
That's probably why there's so many fencing videos, because I do. That's a good off ranch job that you can control your own hours and everything and it makes quite good money. And it's not real high bar to get into. Like it's not a lot of equipment. And so I've been kind of doing that on and off since I was.
For sure. How has the channel grown and some of that stuff over the years?
It's surprisingly, it's done really well for the amount we put into it. Like I haven't posted very many videos, like I don't know how many there is in total, but just like 4 or 5 a year sometimes kind of thing. And I think we're at like 120 something thousand followers, which is kind of blows my mind. Like people seem to really, really like it. And we don't, like sponsor ads or like, I don't do any boosting of it. I just put the video and my wife puts it up on the Facebook and now it's on Instagram too. I've never used Instagram, so I don't really know how it works, but it's on there too. I just use Facebook because I have a slight addiction to Facebook Marketplace, buy old junk. So I use the Facebook one, but that's where I see most of the traffic, I think, anyway, is on Facebook. People seem to like it.
It's not old junk, it's future ranch hacks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a whole yard of future ranch hacks. I got lots of ranch hacks too that I've done, but I don't know if they're safe enough. So I'm fairly cautious that way. Like, I'm like, this works for me, but I don't think I should tell anyone to do this. And there's some good ones, but I'm like, someone will get killed or something. I better not show them this one.
Right. That is interesting. Just the growth of it and everything. It's pretty cool. I like I said, I'm always engaged when I see them come up and just appreciate the work that you've done over the years of continuing to crank out the new ranch hacks. And well done.
No, thanks. Yeah, we enjoy it. It's fun to build the videos and stuff. We like reading the comments, especially the bad ones. They're always funny. People get all mad and bent out of shape about something that don't seem to matter, but it just makes us laugh. So it's pretty good a little bit of entertainment for me and my wife to get those bad comments.
Yep, that's pretty cool. What have you seen, like, certain things that brought in more followers, or was it just kind of consistent growth, or were there big spikes?
Yeah, there's big spikes. So if I do something that's more of a problem that reaches more people, like everybody's opened a gate, right? Everybody's opened a gate, just about anyone, even in town. Someone's gone out to someone's place, opened a gate. So you do something like that, you're going to get a whole bunch of views. And then you do something obscure, like putting in a fiberglass fence post or something, you're not going to have the same kind of, you're not going to get the same engagement. So I try to save, I have a bunch of videos just all saved in the phone and whatever. And like, we've done a couple that are like not as doing so good. So let's throw up one and we know that one's going to, like some of them hit, in the millions of views. And then all of a sudden you see your followers go up and all that, all your metrics, but we don't really make any money off it or anything. So we don't spend a whole bunch of time trying to figure it all out.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time today. Appreciate the opportunity to have a chat about your operation, maybe get a peek behind the scenes of Ranch Hacks a little bit and what you guys are doing day to day. So Malcolm, thanks for your time today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Very good stuff there with Malcolm. Again, really appreciate the way he thinks and appreciate the fact that from the outside, you might not know that, hey, he has a regenerative mindset. He's looking at this from a perspective of profitability and increasing soil health and increasing herd health from a genetic selection criteria. And of course, his stockmanship is very good. And he's been doing a lot of videos on that recently and appreciate his perspective on those things. Coming up next on the Working Cows podcast, we're going to talk to Israel Vosik. Israel has been doing some really great things with repurposing wool. I've heard from lots of people, especially the farther east you go, it is oftentimes that wool is almost a waste product, and people are burning it and doing all kinds of things with it. Well, Israel's figured out and is following in other people's footsteps who have taken wool and put it into a pellet that is useful for soil health. So we're going to talk to him about the process and about what he's learned and about how they're trying to grow this business for taking what is sometimes a waste product, unfortunately, and turning it into a soil health benefit. So looking forward to sharing that with you coming your way real soon on another episode of the Working Cows podcast.
We invite you to visit workingcows.net to subscribe to the show via iTunes or Stitcher. You'll also find detailed show notes pages, resources from our guests, and the industry leaders who have influenced them. For more ideas on putting your cows to work for you in a more profitable way, tune in next week.